Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Peculiar English, where we focus on certain interesting or tricky areas of English language. And today we're looking at how we talk about research in English. So let's look at some examples, beginning actually with that word research, because it's often used incorrectly, maybe because in some other languages such as French, it can be used in the singular and plural, but in English, it's an uncountable word that's only used in a general way. So here are a couple of examples. There has been little research. Previous research has found. So when you talk about a specific experiment, a specific research project, it's a study. Or you could say a research study. And then you can also use the plural studies. So, in one recent study, or several studies have found. So compare that with previous research has found. It's just using the more general, uncountable word research, or using the more specific word in the plural. And another word which you'll find in relation to research is literature. But literature is not research itself. It's what is written about research. So literature includes books, book chapters, but in particular journal articles. And all of those together are called literature. And of course, you may know that many articles and theses will have a literature review where the student or researcher discusses what previous researchers have published about the subject. So, the term is defined in various ways in the literature. So, like research, it's an uncountable word. But when we want to specify specific published works, we'll use the word article to refer to those that we find in a journal. You can say a journal article or just an article, and then the plural is articles. So, in one recent article, and several articles have been published. Okay, now a couple of words to use with the people who might be involved in research studies. So the people, if you're doing research with human participants, it means that you have people who you've invited to take part in your research. Either they're going to do something or they're going to tell you something. Okay, and those are your participants. Here's a very typical example. Participants were randomly assigned to one of three groups. But if you're doing survey-based research, we use the word respondent for the people who have answered questions in your questionnaires, etc. And there's an example, 13% of respondents reported that blah, blah, blah. And finally, three words which are used to talk about the activity of research. So conduct is the key word here, to conduct research, to conduct a study, to conduct an experiment, for example. And there's an example that you might see in the introduction or a literature review. Smith et al. Conducted a study to determine. And determine is another useful word which means to find out. Investigate is used when we talk about the topic or question that our research is focused on. Smith et al. Investigated the relationship between da 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 da. Okay, and you'll see those are used in the past tense because we talk about research that's already happened using the past tense in our writing. And one last word here, found. That's the basic word that we use to report results. Smith et al. Found that blah blah blah. Or sometimes used in this impersonal way, it was found that. Okay, so let's go on to do a bit of practice. Here is a summary using words connected with research, but there are 8 errors. You need to find and correct them. I suggest you pause the video and give yourself some time, and in a moment I'll just go on to the answers. Right, so let's look at those. The very first one is that word research. Remember, it's only used in a general way. It's uncountable. You can't say a. So here it should be a recent study. That you conduct research, but you investigate a particular topic. So here we have investigated. Okay? Remember that an article is just something that's published, but in the next sentence, we're talking about the activity, what happened. So that should be the study. And in this case, we're also talking about what was previously published about this question. So it should be the existing literature. Okay, in the next sentence, they talk about the method, but this is not a survey, so there are no respondents. This should be participants. And moving along, I've put found out here, but it should be just found. Found out is a common expression when we learn something new that we didn't know before. But when we talk about research, it's just found. And here again, we have this study because it's a specific piece of research. And finally, the growing body of, yes, literature again. And that's quite a common phrase that is used to talk about what has been published in general about a topic in the past. So I hope that was useful or interesting for you. We may have some peculiar or unfamiliar ways of writing about research in English, but I'm sure that as you get more practice and do more reading, they won't seem so peculiar at all.